There we go. Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. and we're going to commence with the Rules Committee meeting. If I could please have a roll call.
Freeman.
Here.
Fusco.
Aye.
Amobian.
Here.
Connor. Malik.
Here.
All committee members are present.
If I could have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, please.
Second.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. I think I heard abstain in there somewhere. I'm not sure.
Would you like me to do a roll call, Mr.
Could you
Chair?
do a roll call, please?
Sure. Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Connor. Malik.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, very good. I misheard. Thank you. All right, we have two old items on our agenda, and I had received a request here for someone to speak. And if you're in the chambers, please, if you could please come forward and give us your name, address, and I think you're going to be speaking, I think the request was to speak on item number 1 on our old agenda.
Thank you. Would you like my comments now, Chairman?
I'm sorry?
Would you like the comments now?
Yes, that would
Okay.
that would be fine, and if you could please go ahead and just name and introduce yourself, and we'll have to allow you to have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Reverend Nanette Pitt. I live at 325 Mineola Avenue in Ward 4, and I pastor First Congregational Church of Akron at 292 East Market Street.
Thank you.
Shall I go ahead?
Please proceed.
Sorry, last week it was at the end of the meeting, so I was unsure. So I am one of the petitioners of Issue 10, and I understand that the resolution against Issue 10 is still on your agenda for today. So I would like to appeal to you again to summarily reject this resolution, not to vote for it. And I appeal to Councilman Fusco to withdraw this resolution. I believe it is a inappropriate use of the power of this body to bring claims in this way to bear against the voice of the people who petitioned the City Council to have this issue on the November ballot. I believe that you are elevating what are simple claims to the status of fact. There is nothing flawed about the legislation in Issue 10, and in fact, Issue 10 has a spirit and a tone of partnership in its inception and its writing, so much so that it has in it 2 clauses which state clearly that Issue 10 should not and will not be enforced in such a way that would contradict a collective bargaining agreement or contract, and then follows a severability clause that would not lead to years, as the resolution before you claims, of litigation costing the city millions of dollars or however much was proposed, because clearly to any court or mediator involved, there is a standing severability clause, which means that the group of which I am a part, from its inception, meeting in person with the mayor, has reached across the table, has extended a hand, and seek to be in partnership, the citizens and the police force. That is still the spirit in which that document is written, the spirit in which we have undertaken all of our actions promoting Issue 10. It is not the spirit of this resolution, and it is not the spirit on which certain members of the administration and this body have undertaken their actions in recent weeks. I think that is disappointing, disillusioning. It is not what I voted for as a member of Akron and as a civic leader. So again, I ask for that to be withdrawn, and I ask that this body would not support such a resolution or action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Mr. Fusco?
Yeah, thank you. I do not intend to withdraw that. I appreciate the comments. Wanted to make sure, and last week, a lot of discussion was circled around the timing, a lot of conversation was circled around the rules, et cetera, and understood those, that was, and I appreciate the passion. I appreciate the passion in which everyone discussed their concerns, and certainly thank everyone for that. But again, I just thought it was important that we have a civil discourse about this issue 10, that's before our voters. A discussion, because it seems as though whenever one reads, and I've talked to quite a few folks, whenever one reads just simply what's on the ballot versus what one reads whenever they see, I think it's 68A, the actual amendment to our charter, it's not very prevalent, I don't think, within that ballot language. And so there's some folks that I spoke to, voting had just started 2 weeks before that, that was a bit confused after I would explain it to them. So, it's disappointing that we did not have a good civil discourse about that last week. But it's well, very soon will be up to the voters with regards to that. And then we'll deal with what we have to in whatever way. But we have obviously moved forward with the mayor and council's proposal, and that is moving quite nicely. I believe today is the last day to accept those applications. And so, I will not, I'm not going to withdraw this, but I certainly appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Amobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I think what was most disappointing to me and some of my colleagues was how this resolution was brought into council. Actually, if we follow our rules, it should not have come in last week. It would have come in this week because you're way past the time that it should have been introduced last week. With that said, I believe, I hope some of you had a chance to read the editorial yesterday and saw the endorsement of the League of Women Voters and how they addressed the issue. We are here to advocate on behalf of the citizens of Akron, and the citizens have spoken. They asked us to put it on the ballot. The vote is next week, or week after next. Well, next week, next Tuesday is the actual vote. Yeah, tomorrow's the 1st. I have to remember that. But I've already voted. But the important thing is that we are here to advocate for what the citizens want, and they have expressed to us more than 7,000. And again, we could have gotten many more signatures than that, but they wouldn't have been accepted by the board. I mean, they would have counted them and checked them out, but they didn't need more than that in order to put the amendment, the charter amendment on the ballot. So for that, I really want to respect the voices of the people and give the citizens an opportunity to vote it up or down. I believe it's going to be successful. And the other thing is, and I stated this before and I'll repeat it, that the mayor's ordinance could have easily come in after the election, so there wouldn't have been any confusion about the matter. And because all it requires is a simple majority vote after 3 readings. And so there was no need to bring that forth. And, just like anything else people say, they can say that this is going to cost us money, but no one has pointed out specifically what this amendment is breaching, because there's nothing in it that is in conflict with the FOP contract. And everything about this amendment speaks to improving community police relations and providing additional training to help our officers become aware. Because when you look at the list of trainings we're talking about, a lot of things people are just not aware that they're doing. And there is nothing in conflict about this amendment. And again, it's all about improving the quality of the relationship between the citizens and police and making this a better community. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. I do not see any other hands. Anything from across the aisle here you'd like to address?
I'd just like to echo Councilman Fusco and Pastor Pitt. Definitely educate yourself on the issues, get your questions asked, and make informed decisions.
Thank you. All right. Could I have a motion to refer? And a second?
Second.
All in favor of referring this item, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, very good.
Aye.
Let's go ahead and do a roll call.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco. Amobian.
Nay.
Connor. Malik.
Aye.
The motion to refer passes 4-1.
Okay, next we have a second item of old business is our ordinance regarding contributions to campaign finance reform. Anyone have any, Mr. Fusco, anything that you would like to add? This was your piece. All right, I see no other comments, so if we could refer this item?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see Councilman Malik has his hand raised.
I can't, okay, there you go. Councilman Malik?
I know we've taken time on this for a few weeks. I just wanted to see if folks wanted to make a motion to refer this to the full council.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to repeat that.
Sure, I know we've taken time on this for several weeks and had this before the break as well. I just wanted to see if we wanted to make a motion on this to refer it to the full council.
Okay, well, right now I have just a motion to refer. Before I saw your comments, you're asking to refer this to, I think that request could be made this evening. We can request, you can request that this evening to come before council. At the time being, we have a motion to refer right now, and I needed a second on that. And second, all in favor of referring, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, roll call, please.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco. Amobian.
Nay.
Connor. Malik.
Aye.
The motion to refer passes 4-1.
Okay, very good. All right, let's jump down to new business here. Okay, first item is we have an ordinance amending and enacting Title 13, Chapter 136, Offenses Against Justice and Administration, Article 4, Election Interference, Section 136.30, Definitions, 136.31, Election Interference, and 136.32, Mandatory Minimum for Harassment, Intimidation, or Abuse of an election official to provide greater protection for election officials from harassment and intimidation, and declaring an emergency. And was this yours? Yes, sir. Okay, very good, please. Ms. Mosley.
All right, thank you, Chairman Freeman. Yes, this ordinance is to protect our election workers and officials who are doing their civic duty to help at our polling locations. As you have all probably heard on television or in the papers, they've talked about the increase of violent threats against election workers, especially now ahead of the November midterm elections. Just a few days ago, they reported on a case where a 64-year-old Iowa man was arrested earlier in the month for threatening to kill election officials in Arizona because he felt the election had been stolen. So there's some other pieces attached to the ordinance that went out on Friday, and there's also a letter that I passed out to you all from Representative Tavia Galansky as she is in support of the proposed ordinance, and she also talks about the state legislator has yet to take action on similar legislation in Columbus. And Craig Morgan is here to speak on the enforcement piece of it.
All right, thank you. Any comments from first, any council members who'd like to add comments? I'm looking for hands to my left here, and now I'm looking to the floor. Any council members? Anyone from across the way like to add comment?
Thank you. I can just certainly state and happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. It's reflective of the state code. It certainly enhances what we're able to do here locally. It's got varying levels of culpability, meaning some of the more serious or egregious acts could be punishable under the state code as felonies. With other offenses, they're first-degree misdemeanors, which are the most serious. And of course, as it was mentioned earlier, there is included in this is a mandatory penalty of 3 days non-suspendable jail time for somebody convicted of such an offense.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fusco.
Yes, thank you. So this goes over and above the state code, you say?
It mirrors it.
It mirrors it? It's very similar. Any other cities gone in this direction?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think it's timely, and I certainly appreciate seeing this come in. I'm going to be very complimentary. Thank you for bringing this in a timely fashion. The thing of it is, though, is that, to be honest and frank with you, and obviously it would delay things if we would amend this or what have you, but what do we have on the books in terms of our employees, all of our civil servants? Again, we heard over the weekend that the speaker's spouse was bludgeoned with a hammer. We're hearing all the time how civil servants all across our country is being attacked everywhere. And what can we do to protect our folks that work every day out there on the streets? The ones who are paving our streets, the ones who are protecting us from fire, the ones who are, just that's something I think that we should maybe work on moving forward. I don't want to delay anything like this, but it seems as though that all civil servants from the federal to the local level are being attacked time and again. We hear it every day in the news. And so I don't know if you've looked at that or not, but I'm more than happy to continue that conversation maybe for another day soon. But
Absolutely. And there are various offenses both within the city code and the state code where you'll find certain types of employees that do, in other words, the offense is enhanced to a higher degree,
yes,
or there are certain penalties. Are there blanket offenses applying to all public servants? No. Just certain people serving in particular capacities, absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, we'd love to continue the conversation on this for another day, and maybe develop legislation that everyone can agree with to protect our folks out there who are doing the good work every day.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you. Come to Ms. Holland, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to apologize in advance for my barking dog. This is really, I think, a question for Mr. Angeloni or somebody from the law department. Both state and federal law make election interference a very serious criminal violation. And so while I appreciate and would support any effort to amplify, to increase penalties for election interference, after all, this has been a significant part of my life's work. I guess what I want to know is how, if at all, does this add to the body of criminal prohibitions against election interference?
And I can speak to that, Councilwoman Holland. The one key component that stands out here by enacting this piece would be the mandatory non-suspendable jail time. That is going to be the standout. That's certainly a penalty that you're not going to find under the state code for particularly the misdemeanor level offenses. And they are also the non-suspendable time, it can't be aggregated for a single transaction, but if the same individual engaged in a course of conduct, you know, on one day of election and was charged multiple times, that mandatory jail time would be ran consecutive, not concurrent. So that's certainly the biggest hammer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Amobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm having a hard time unmuting, but thank you very much. And thank you, Councilwoman Mosley. I certainly want us to be mindful of what's happening in different parts of the country. I haven't heard of anything in Akron, but I'm sure if it can happen anywhere, it could also happen here. So thank you for bringing it in. I would like to be added as to this legislation, if you don't mind. I certainly want us to make sure that it is safe for everyone to cast their vote and for people to vote and encourage them to get out and do it. And if for any reason they're being interfered with, they need to make it known so that those individuals can be prosecuted or whatever needs to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I do not see any other hands. Thank you for bringing this in. I think this is something we probably want to expedite. I would echo, if we can come back and revisit this again. I was really concerned last week about what happened in council chamber, our public speaking time, when somebody was threatened about, you know, meeting you in a dark alley. I'm sitting 6 feet away from the speaker. It concerns me. So I hope this is a good piece. I hope that we can come back and just, you know, for safety and for as well. Thank you for bringing this in. Can I go ahead? Okay.
Yes.
Could I go ahead and have a motion for suspension of the rules? And a second? Very good. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? All right, very good. We will pass that out this evening. Secondly, we have a resolution, Akron City Council's receipt of Silver W3 Award for its website, acknowledging Triad and council staff for their work in creating and maintaining the website and declaring an emergency. I'm not sure who's going to speak for this. I thought...
President Somerville is here, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I see two hands up. I see the... Okay. Sorry, Ms. Somerville. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Akron City Council received some really exciting news. Our website, City Council's website, was selected out of 5,000 different websites as an outstanding website for government. So we are really excited about receiving the award. Triad, which is a local business right here in Summit County, helped us with the design. We could not have had the website that we had if it wasn't for council staff, so a big to Sarah, a really big thank you to Dr. Williams, who has worked extremely hard and has really raised the bar on Akron City Council's website. So I just wanted to share this with council and to our residents. We should all be really proud. Again, one of the things that we wanted to do with our website was to raise the bar of our website being more professional, easier to navigate, and so that it could really be a 24/7 tool for our residents. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as you did mention to Ms. Biviano, to Ms. Williams, thank you for your hard work and just another tool for folks to be able to access their local government. Were there any other comments? Mr. Malik, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to join President Somerville in thanking everyone involved, particularly Dr. Williams, who really has done an amazing job in helping professionalize council even further, and particularly with regard to the website. I really appreciate the work that she does day in and day out. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'd like to see if we could entertain a motion for suspension of the rules. Have a motion, a second? Have a motion, a second. All in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Very good. We will pass that item this evening, and we will adjourn now. We have no other business. At anything to offer across the aisle here that... No, thank you. Okay, very good. Thank you. We will adjourn at 2:25. Thank you so much.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Hamer, Holland, Lombardo, and McKittrick. We do have all committee members present except for Councilman Kamer. Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. If I could get a motion of approval of our previous meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ayes have it. First piece is an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent, service director, or their designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for demolition and removal of the former steel treatment building at 655 South Broadway Street, Ohio 443 agency. Mr. Lettle?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of committee. Madam Chairman, I'd like to take time on this piece this week.
Motion for time?
I'll make a motion for time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Next piece is ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service or his designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for the demolition and removal of B.F. Goodrich Power Plant, Akron, 44311, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle?
Committee, yes. We recently applied for a grant through the Ohio the Demolition and Site Remediation Program. We received just under $5 million for this demo. As you know, this old we acquired ownership, I believe it was late 80s. It had our district energy system in there at the time, which operated the downtown heating for most of the central business district, and it also had chilled water or chillers in it, which served Canal Place. 2019, we did finally finish the new power plant, district energy system, so we were totally out of that building. The age of that building is well beyond repair, so it is prone to vandalism, and it is an environmental problem that we have here in the city. So we have received these grants. We are doing currently to take it down, but it's not just the asbestos, it's hazardous materials in there. So there's a lot of controls that have mercury in them, gauges, that type of thing. So consent would be fine, but I'll answer any questions.
Any questions from committee members? Any question from council members? Seeing none, can I get a motion for consent?
Motion for...
In a second, all in favor? Ordinance authorizing purchasing agent, Director of Public Service, or their designee advertising for bids to enter into contracts for the removal of Erie Island Elementary School building at 1534 Peckham Street, Akron, Ohio 44320.
For a week.
Okay,
Yes.
can I get a motion for time?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's have it. I have 11 as time too, but I'm going to read it in. Is that okay?
That's fine, but
Okay.
yes, we're going to ask
All
for
right.
one more week on that one also.
Okay. Ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract construction of the Rubber Bowl redevelopment project and declaring an emergency. Can I get a motion for time on this one as well?
Motion for
So
time.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. That's the final piece. Order authorizing to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the Appalachia Ohio Alliance for the Darby Creek, Smith Lake, Poston Addition, and Salt Creek projects and declaring an emergency. Mr. Leto?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of committee. You just we are going to sponsor them, and we're going to use 2 of our projects. So we are going to get an interest reduction of 0.1 on our 2 projects by sponsoring these projects through the WRRSS loan program. So the first one is our SSR 2021 large diameter lining project. That's a 45-year loan that we're going to getting. With the interest reduction, we're going to save $1,000 off that project. And then the other one is the lower NSI line, which ties into our Northside Tunnel project. That is a 45-year loan, and we'll save $3,000 off that project. It doesn't cost us anything by doing this, but by entering into this interest reduction, that's the savings we will receive over the life of those loans.
Okay.
And consent is fine. Consent is fine.
Any questions from members? Any question from council members? Can I get a motion for consent?
Moved. Aye.
Ayes have it. That will go on to consent, and we have nothing else coming before us, so we are adjourned.
Next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, Mosley, Lombardo, Malik, and Trick. We do have members present except for Councilman Kamer. Would you be able to chair Councilwoman Mosley? Thank you.
If we could call Public Safety Committee to order, can I get a motion and approval of our previous meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We have 2 coming before us. The first one is an ordinance amending and/or enacting Title 9 General Provisions, Chapter 93 Prevention, Article 2 Definitions, Section 93.30 Definitions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Akron, amending and/or enacting Title 9 Provisions, Chapter 93 Regulations, Section 93.51 Carbon monoxide detectors in a new and residential structures to require carbon in residential structures and declaring an emergency. Gert, are you speaking to this?
I'm going to refer to Clarence Tucker
Okay, Chief
at this
Tucker.
point to just kind of talk about why we're here, where we're headed with this legislation.
Okay, Chief Tucker?
First, good afternoon, and thank you for letting me bring this before you here at this committee. Carbon monoxide is very dangerous. It's an issue it's something that we've had issues with before, but here in the last week and a half, we had a very serious incident. We had a situation where one tenant died in the timber top condominiums and apartments, but we very easily could have lost many, many more. Carbon monoxide seeped up through the walls and got into the apartments and made a lot of people sick that we had to transport to the hospitals. And even though this is one incident, it's something that doesn't give you warning. It's odorless, colorless, tasteless. You have no idea even being affected by it. It's something that, flu symptoms, nausea, vomiting, weakness, and yet you only have a certain amount of time before it can be deadly. So it's something that I think that we should really push to add to our Title 93 with our rules that we can go out and inspect for. And I think it's something where we need to make it as restrictive as possible. So I really am looking forward to getting this passed and just helping our citizens to be safe in their homes. So with that, I'd like to defer to Deputy Chief Leon Henderson.
Good afternoon, everyone. Every year, according to CDC, 430 people die each year from carbon monoxide poisoning. 50,000 people are hospitalized every year for carbon monoxide poisoning. What we are doing with this, we're closing the loophole as far as the exception with the Ohio Fire Code. We are requiring that there be no detector outside of each sleeping area. So that's what we're asking this body to do and approve for us. Best practices throughout the country, everybody's starting to move in this direction. And, you know, we've started getting emails from at Timbertop facility. Councilwoman Mosley had a complaint sent to us, and we're addressing that complaint as we speak also about carbon monoxide detector.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the co-sponsors of this ordinance like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. Monoxide is an issue where gas and solid fuel is used to heat buildings. It is a reality wherever gas and solid fuel is used for cooking purposes. And this legislation, I believe, is a lifesaver and will be. It is important that as a modern city that is interested in taking care of kids and families and our seniors and all of our residents, that this kind of action be taken, that we protect all tenants, and that we also raise consciousness that all residents of Akron and beyond understand that carbon monoxide is a silent killer, and that the simple investment in a carbon monoxide detector can and will save lives. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to, first of all, thank the primary sponsor, Nancy Holland, for bringing this forward and pushing throughout the week discussion on this, and especially to the folks across the aisle here from us in fire. Chief, thank you very much for this. There's a couple of moving parts, though, here. You know, we have, there's a difference between this one and the next in terms of residential versus commercial, and the definitions of both and how we're going to go about both. I would respectfully request that we just take 1 week's time so everybody can get all their questions answered, and so that we can at least, you know, get a full understanding of exactly where, you know, where we'll be after we vote on this.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like my colleagues, I want to thank the sponsors of this legislation. I really appreciate this being brought in, given the tragedy that occurred. Just, I think, 2 questions. First, for Deputy Chief and Deputy Mayor there, can you talk a little bit about enforcement? It sounds like, you know, this will be enforced with similar penalties elsewhere in the fire code, but can you kind of walk us through, you know, what the process would be if there was a violation and how that can be enforced? And then I think the second question is a little bit looking backwards. I know we're working on closing this loophole, but as we look at what happened at Timbertop, are there, whether in the state code or in criminal penalties, any ways to hold accountable the property owner there as that investigation is proceeding?
I'll defer to Deputy Chief Henderson.
Hi, according to our Title 99, yes, we do have the progressive penalties that go along with not cohering to the code. But the way I see this particular policy, when it comes to smoke alarms and CO detectors, we shouldn't start with the minimum. We should always start with the top as far as a violation, even to the point of cease and desist, where they will shut down that apartment complex if they do not comply. And so the question, when you had the question, what types of buildings, it covers type I buildings, R and E, which is educational, daycare, commercial, mercantile. It covers everything from A to Z. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. And then I guess the second question was about specifically with regard to timber top. Is there any discussion about ways they might be able to be held accountable after the fact?
So I don't know about after the fact, but I know about from this point moving forward. So what I can tell you, I had boots on the ground with the service director, deputy service director, and deputy mayor Tucker. We were at Timber Top on last Thursday, and as of last Friday, they actually installed a carbon monoxide detector in every boiler room there in that footprint. There are 74 different complexes. Our fire inspectors actually checked each one of those boiler rooms to check for carbon monoxide. We also, the apartment in question, we also checked every room in that apartment complex to make sure it was safe before anybody moved back in. And proactively, what we're doing, the Fire Prevention Bureau, is proactively seeking out every apartment complex, every school, every daycare that has a boiler, and we're doing inspections at this time.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
All right, Councilwoman Holland?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Deputy Chief, I just have a follow-up question. First, I'm so grateful for the thorough investigative and follow-up work that you and the rest of AFD have done in this tragic situation. But by way of follow-up, while pleased to hear that there have been CO detectors installed in the boiler rooms at Timber Top, I do wonder if, in your expert opinion, best practices would be to additionally have, and I believe that under this legislation, this would be required in any event, to also have individual CO detectors in each separate unit. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yes, that's what this policy does cover. It not only covers just the boiler room, but it covers every additional sleeping area. So if you have 2 bedrooms in one complex, there will be a CO detector outside of each apartment complex.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure everybody understands that.
Okay.
Can I get a motion for time?
So moved.
Second.
Oops.
I have a motion and a second.
Wait a minute, I don't think I have standing to move.
No. Okay, so can we get a motion and a second for time?
Motion for time.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Next piece is ordinance amending and/or enacting Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 150 Environmental Health Housing Code, Section 150.01 Definitions, Section 150.08 Equipment and Facilities, and Section 150.13 Rooming Houses, Equipment and Facilities of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Akron to require carbon monoxide detectors, devices, and residential structures in the City of Akron and declaring an emergency. Emily?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So this is a companion piece to the amendments to Chapter 93, and our goal in offering this amendment, along with Councilwoman Holland and Councilman Fusco, is to ensure that our carbon monoxide detector legislation mimics our smoke detector legislation. So essentially the same requirements. I will say that it's applicable to every dwelling unit in which fuel burning appliances are present. So to the degree that you're using electricity for heat, or an electric stove, and an electric stove, I should say, it would not be applicable to that residence. And in anticipation of the question about penalties and enforcement, I'm going to defer to Dwayne Groger to speak to that.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Madam Chair. Dwayne Greger, Housing Administrator. The penalties for this are going to be applicable to the same penalties that are outlined in the Housing Code. So failure to comply with an order issued by us to properly install and/or maintain carbon monoxide detectors would subject a non-compliant property owner to civil penalties of up to $1,000 and also criminal penalties as outlined in the Housing Code.
Okay, thank you. quick question. When this ordinance is enacted, will you all be doing inspections of properties to make sure that they install?
We will be treating this, at least in the outset, the same as we handle issues for smoke alarms and fire extinguishers. In those residences that we inspect as a result of a complaint, we will be checking to see if they have all three of those. We are proactively doing inspections of all the units at Timbertop, not the interior of the units, but the boiler room inspections have already been completed, and we'll be issuing orders for deficiencies that we found in those. At this point, we'll be taking inspections on a complaint basis.
Without consent, we'd still need probable cause to go in.
Okay, yeah, you saw, yeah, okay, thank you.
I didn't hear, what was that?
Councilman Fusco.
Without the property owner's consent, we can't just enter your
Right, oh,
premises
yeah,
without
yeah, yeah.
probable cause. So there does need to be an additional element. Just, we're not going in just to look for smoke detectors, to look for
Mr. Lovell was
COT detectors. There has to be consent or articulable criminal reasons to go in. So
Okay.
it's just not to look for those things.
Okay, Mr. Little, and then Chief Tucker, and Councilman Fusco, they were gonna add to.
Okay, go
to
ahead.
that.
I just want to add a couple things. One, I want to thank AFD for the work they did last week, and they do that every day. But one thing I want to say as a city, we encourage everyone that has a fuel burning appliance in their home to get it checked by a qualified technician. Because sometimes when the detector goes off, you have a problem, and you may have had a problem for a while. It just has got to that point. So having a qualified technician come in regularly and check your furnace, okay? And they make those recommendations, and let's head this off before the detector ever gets that point. So if we can make that recommendation, if you could educate your citizens or as a city, please get those appliances checked, okay? Thank you.
And I just wanted to add that by having this in the housing code as well as Title 93, we get the best chance of having 100% compliance across the city. So we don't want to leave anyone, particularly our elderly or people that maybe have other issues in a situation where they don't have a carbon monoxide detector. So we want to have the highest percentage of coverage that we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Fusco?
Just that for everyone's edification, just in that, this one here is primarily for 2-family, 3-family, and 1-family, correct? Single family is what this speaks to, and the other one is for 4 and up. Am I right? Are we in bounds?
No, I think they both apply to all.
They both apply to all.
Right.
These are going to mirror what we have for smoke detectors. Again, 93.52 smoke detectors, the owner of each existing dwelling unit. So there's
Okay.
no distinction. We want to keep everybody safe. So we've not cut off a number, anything like that.
I think we all do.
It's
I
all.
agree.
It's
I agree.
all.
We all
We're
do.
asking it to be the same standard as smoke detectors.
Okay. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page.
Okay. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the point that you made, Mr. Little, about increasing awareness about having appliances checked. I wonder whether it might be possible for some kind of flyer or graphic to be made about that point, and also just reminding people that of the importance of CO2 detectors in addition to smoke detectors. So if that's something that could be created, I'd like to share it. I'm sure everyone else would as well.
Thank you, Councilman Malik. I think with it coming on fall back for time savings, that's always check your batteries. So it might be a good time just to tie it in with smoke detectors and the CO2 detectors. I will see if someone in our comms department can put something together that's shareable on social.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Sponsors, what's your pleasure on this? Councilman Fusco or Councilwoman Holland? A week's time on this one as well? Okay, can I get, same thing, Councilwoman Holland? Is week's time okay? Okay. Can I get a motion for time?
I'll make that motion for time.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. And we have nothing else coming before us, so we are adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. That will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee that will begin at 3 o'clock. Thank you.